Well, this is it. This is the current state of the car. We are back to stage one, you could say. What's good about the car this time is I have all the parts. And when you have all the parts, that means the only thing keeping you from getting the car back up and running is yourself. If you guys remember what actually happened, why the motor is out of the car, if you aren't all caught up yet, go ahead and watch my last couple videos. Got the car running. It was running really good, really strong. I was super happy with it. We had open wastegate, 17, 18 PSI of boost. Okay, hold up. I gotta stop this video because I have a very important announcement to make. I've been working on this for a couple weeks now, and I am proud to say that Billy Built officially has its own website and merchandise. So if you guys want to head on over to billybuilds.com, we got t-shirts, I got hoodies. This is the back of the t-shirt that I'm wearing, but it's also in hoodie form. It's no worries. We got the 300ZX with the 300ZX Turbo is a dance, if you're familiar with that quote. To add for the No Worries jacket, it's actually a jacket, not a hoodie, my bad. But it's zipper down, it's very nice, very comfortable. It's like a fleece on the inside and then cotton on the outside. I've been wearing it all morning actually. And then we also have 300ZX license plate frames. This one's pretty cool, it's got Fairlady Z on the bottom. Now I went through and designed each of these myself. We also have, I'm having this Dream and They Can't Catch Me with my car on it and backdrop. If you aren't familiar with this is actually from a commercial back in the 90s when the 300ZX was initially released. There was a commercial, and that's kind of what this shirt is based around. Also, for the women, we've got a women's No Worries t-shirt with the 300ZX logo. It's actually like a fashion tee, I guess you could call it. It's literally meant for women. So guys, don't go ordering this one. And also for the women, we got leggings because, I mean, every girl likes leggings nowadays. It says Billy Built on the back, and then it just says Billy Built down the side, which I may actually end up changing this to like a Z logo or something like that, or some sort of alternative to these. So for the probably 1 to 2% of women or guys that are interested in buying merchandise for their girls, we have women's stuff as well. So we got stuff for both the women and the men. There are also a few other things on there besides what you see right here. I will be working on CRX and BRZ stuff as time goes on. So anyways, go check it out. I'll put the link down in the description, and let's get back to today's video. Sounded beautiful. And then I started to drive it a little more and more heat got induced into the motor, and long story short, the valve guide clearance wasn't up to par. In hindsight, looking at this, it should be a duh thing, right? Exhaust gets hotter, metal expands, it should be a little bit looser, so on and so forth. Well, I didn't think about that. So to be honest, the other night, I went ahead and pulled all of my exhaust valves out of my driver's side head. And as you can see, it is pretty well crooked. It's not straight at all. And this is a fairly new exhaust valve. And why I mean fairly new, like this has like 50 miles on it, maybe. So anyways, about 17, 18 PSI of boost, probably right around 550-ish horsepower.
Oh, that's that good shit.
Basically, it was breaking my 275 R888Rs loose at about 50 miles an hour. So it was making some pretty good jam. I know the videos may not have looked like it or may not have seen it, but the car was probably right close to 550 horsepower at the time. Now I'm going to go through and clearance all of the valve guides. To do so, you guys might think, oh, you have to send it off to machine shop. They have special tools, special machinery. To a degree, yes. And it's literally just taking a drill with the proper reamer and reaming out the valve guide with a hand drill. So I'm gonna go ahead and ream out my exhaust valve guides here at home. And without going into too much detail here, because the valve kissed the piston so hard, as you can see right here, that's not really that big of a deal, honestly. That I will probably just sand out, smooth out so there aren't any harsh edges. Harsh edges induce extra heat, and could promote detonation where we don't want it. Piston will be okay. The rod bearing, I'm going to pull off and inspect for clearance. Car had good oil pressure, but it can have okay oil pressure even though one rod bearing may be bad in one spot. And because I'm gonna put this motor through the paces that I plan on it, I'm going to pull the number 2 rod bearing. Better safe than sorry. I'd rather check this now while it's all apart. I even went ahead and ordered spare rod bearings just in case. So let me get right into it and let's get to work here. Ooh, that's tight. I don't know if you can see it, but no, that's not even a question. Can you see it? This thing is bent as all hell. Before I continue on with this, I want to flip it over and check this one valve guide and valve seat. All right, so if you look right here on the very bottom, there is a little bit of a nick taken out of the bottom side of the valve seat here. I think the only proper way to go about it at this point would be to lap the valve and see the surface of the valve seat after the valve is lapped. Okay, so for the measurements on the valve guide, this here is actually meant for measuring little tiny round holes. All it is a little screw up here. Screw this, it pulls it in, it spreads it apart. You get your measurement once you pull it out. And then once you pull it out of there, stick your micrometer in there, tighten it down, read the measurement. The next thing would be to take this and put it on the valve stem. All right, so let me see what this here is at the valve stem. So I'm gonna go ahead and just show you the pictures that I got because it's way easier to just show you on here rather than measure, show you and then measure again. Let me just make sure I got this right. 6.005 here to 6.01 here. Just for reference sake, the typical exhaust valve clearance needs to be between 0.05 millimeters and 0.1 millimeters. That measurement was 0.005 millimeters, not 0.05, 0.005. So with that, we are going to go ahead and I'm going to give this a shot myself because if push comes to shove and it doesn't come out well, we are just going to send it off and have the valve guide replaced. Okay guys, so I'm back here this morning, gonna get started back on the head. What we're gonna do first thing is I wanna check and make sure that this valve seat is still okay. So to do that, basically I'm gonna lap the valve in it before I start with cutting, reaming, clearancing the valve guide to valve stem. Okay, so for starters, I wanna check to see how well this slides into here, which as of right now, that is insanely tight. Basically, long story short, the valve guide hone is not removing enough material to make the valve stem smooth, fit smoothly in and out of it. So with that said, bring out the big guns.
I'm in danger.
Lather it across this, and we should be wish me luck here. That actually went really freaking smoothly. I might have to do another pass on this because I can't believe that went as smoothly as it did. And that was very simple. That's all they say to do with it. It's just do one pass, pull it out the other side. I'm gonna be honest, at first I was pretty nervous, but the more I do this, the more comfortable I am, and I actually enjoy it in some weird sadistic way because this shouldn't be enjoyable. All right, let's measure that. Oh, that did clearance it a little bit. Dang, that's pretty cool. So that shaved away like 1/100th of a millimeter. I'm going to clean out the hole and then try to lap the valve real quick before I continue on. Okay guys, I think I got it loose enough at least to lap this valve. And then this will tell me whether or not I need to recut the valve seat. If you look really closely, looks like it's got a nice lap ring going around it. I mean, I'm no professional head guy, but there's at least, I would say 70 to 80% of the sealing surface is still there. I would consider that a win. Okay guys, I'm kind of like at a standpoint here. The reamer that I have is meant for 6mm valve guides. You would think, oh, 6mm is loosely stated or something like that. Like, no. What I'm getting at here is I need to get a larger valve guide reamer tool. I need one that is 6.05mm instead of the 6mm one that I have currently. I have one ordered. It's not gonna be here for a couple days. Because we're waiting on that, I am gonna go ahead and continue to take out the rest of the valves on these so I get a head start on that. That way, when the valve reamer gets here, I can just go through it, get both heads ready to go, and then we'll go from there. For today, I think that's gonna do it. I got basically the cams removed out of this one and this one. I'm trying to get this done on a timely basis. I'd really like to have the car back up and running within a month. Theoretically, it can be done. It shouldn't be too bad. It's just, there's a lot of work involved with this. And unfortunately, that's just part of it. Just waiting on that reamer to get here, which should be here by the end of next week, which is unfortunate because today is Saturday. But hang tight and we'll get there. Bearing looks pretty good, actually. These are the same bearings that I was making well over 700 horsepower on for a couple years, and every time I drove the car, it's not like I babied it. I drove the car at the high boost setting all the time. So on here, there is a little nick in the bearing. So looking at this bearing a little bit further, I just noticed something pretty crazy. So at first, I noticed this little nick in it, right? Like, okay, no big deal. Now keep in mind, this is the side that was on the top of the crank. So there's a little nick right there, but if you look really closely, you can actually see right in the middle. See this line right here? And it kind of flares out right there. The rod bearing was actually crushed a little bit. It was flattened out. So there's a good chance that this would have eventually spun bearing. Pretty wild to think about. I'm glad I caught it. I'm really glad I checked this. To be honest, I almost did not check this. And because this one's as crushed as it is, I'm actually going to go ahead and check the rest of them now. So this is the cap side of it, and it looks pretty good. It doesn't look too bad at all. Actually, I don't see anything wrong with it. However, because these come in two different parts, I'm just gonna go ahead and change it out. Old one out, new one in. So there's that. Push it down in there, and that's it. Now, put the new one in there. To check clearance on this, I'm going to get some plastigauged. Be right back. Forty-three. All right. Okay, so after looking at the VG30 300ZX specific service manual, the specs for the rod bearing clearance is anywhere between 11 thousandths of an inch to 19 thousandths of an inch. I've always kind of gone with shoot for a little bit larger, and the simple reason for that is because I am running a heavier weight oil. It's about 0.00, so there's 0.0015, and we are sitting right, I'd say right between 0.0015, closer to 0.002, which probably puts that bearing right about 0.0019 or 18. I'll go ahead and clean that off, torque it back down, and we'll call it a day there. So this one's doing the same thing. we are right at, it's about right at 0.002. This one's chewed up good. I think I just saved my motor from rod bearing failure, honestly. Honestly, it's a good thing that the valve hit. If the valve didn't hit, I probably would have never checked these like I am now, and I would have had a rod bearing failure. So this is probably the best way for it to go on me. So all of the driver's side rod bearings have been gone through and replaced. They were all a little bit crushed. I'm now gonna go through and check my passenger side rod bearings and see what we got here. Starting with number 5. So these are doing the same thing. I am thoroughly confused. Yeah, it's doing pretty much the same thing. That's very odd. Dang, I don't know. Oh. Carrying on, I guess I'm replacing all the rod bearings today. So after doing a little bit of asking around and research, it turns out this is just a common thing that happens when you force a lot of power and stress through a motor. Now, the new bearings that I have going into it are King XP bearings. The old ones that came out of it, I believe, are also King bearings, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So maybe somebody can hop down in the comments and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding of it as of right now anyways, and that's what I'm going to go with. Okay guys, as you can see, I went ahead and replaced all the rod bearings this time. Just about every single one of them had a little bit of a crush to them, at least on the top side. The bottom side, you wouldn't be able to tell a difference, but the top side all had a little bit. I'm not sure if you can see, that's probably one of the better ones, but every single one of these had a little bit of crushing right in the middle. Well, there is a little bit of extra wear too. I'm gonna do a little bit of research. This one had some gouging too on the top as well. So probably some real nasty contaminants got in there, as well as this one and a little bit on that one. So I am going to, I guess, do a little bit of research and see what I can find, what would actually cause that kind of warpage with the bearing. I'm not gonna worry about the main bearings. Crossing my fingers, honestly, I probably shouldn't do this, but main bearings should be okay. Finish putting the bottom end together. I'm gonna throw the oil pan on this so it's all sealed up, ready to go. And then I'll start on the head work. Okay, just for the hell of it, I'm gonna go ahead and I replaced all the intake valves as well on this side, on this head alone. So these are all brand new OEM intake valves. So what I am gonna do, just to be safe, I'm going to check the clearance on the valve guides on the intake side. So it's a hair over 6 millimeters valve guide and 5.97 valve stem. We've got about 0.03 of a millimeter of clearance between the intake valve stem and the valve guide, which should be within specification. I'm just going to double check the factory service manual to make sure. Long story short, I have two different bits here. They're both self-centering. These are reaming drill bits. This one's actually meant for bronze valve guides, and this one's meant for steel. So there's a slight difference between the two in the way the bits are stepped. This one's 0.236 inches, or 6 millimeters on the dot, and this one's 0.238 inches, which is 6.05 millimeters. So what I'm doing is I'm leveling them up to 6 millimeters, and I'm going the next size up to 6.05 millimeters. We got a long day ahead of us, but I'm hoping to have at least both heads done and possibly have the heads on the motor by the end of today. Since I am sending the reamer all the way down through the valve guide, it is taking away quite a bit of my valve stem seal. So I went ahead and ordered new valve stem seals, so we're gonna be installing them as well in the process.
I am conflicted, watching where I step still, hanging in the balance, not the life I want to live. I want to take it all, standing tall, fear outweighed the person you are. Oh, break out.
Okay, so the valve stem seals are in the head. I'm gonna go ahead and relap the one valve again, just to make sure I have a good sealing surface. And just to add, the rest of the valves were just freshly lapped. Since the rest of the valves were lapped, they all tested with 150 PSI compression along with the pistons. So all those valves are going right back into the head as they were. I'm just gonna lap the one valve that I'm replacing. So if you guys aren't familiar with what valve lapping does, it pretty much grinds the finish around the valve contact point to the valve seat. So basically all I'm doing is pretty much sanding the valve to match the surface of the valve seat. So it creates a good seal when the valve closes. That way we get good compression. Put a little bit of lapping compound on the valve. Push it down in. Feels nice and smooth going in and out. So if you guys look really closely on the top of the valve seat, you can see a little bit of shiny area. However, it's also grayed out right beneath it. The gray area beneath it is where the valve lap has actually made contact. And I would say that's probably about 80% of the contact patch is still there. It should create a very nice seal on the valve seat. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it at that. So this is the head that got the valve damaged in it. It's now ready to go. I got all the valves set in, all the keepers are in. Everything's good to go on this. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the next one. It's pretty much rinse and repeat the same process, so not really gonna do too much explaining here. I'm just gonna get to work on pulling it apart, reaming out the valve guides, and then reinstalling everything. I'm running out of time today. It's already like 3 in the afternoon and I only got one head done. I still have to completely go through and ream this other head, which unfortunately I kind of have to take my time doing because the reamer gets very hot when doing so. So let me get started on this one and I'll get back to you. So the valve guides on this head are right around 6.02. So, and the valve stems themselves are about 6.0, 6.01. These are 6.02, 6.03. So yeah, definitely need to ream this side out. It's only about 2/1000ths of an inch, which is good enough for intake side, but not exhaust.
Fixed upon the web, I need to kick the habit that my mind is breathing in. Break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all. Fearless.